Hello again, I'm Rodney Reynolds and welcome to another video review. Today I'm looking at the NorthQ Black Magic Flex 650 watt and 850 watt power supplies. Normally a power cord, screws, and manual are included with most power supplies, but that's not the case here. There's nothing but the power supply in the box. I asked NorthQ about this and they said it's a fairly common practice in Europe. Let's face it, every case includes screws, so that's not a big deal, and most power supply manuals are never read. But I would have liked to have seen at least a power cord included. As you can see, both of these power supplies are identical except for specifications and connections. The 650 watt model is geared towards mid to high-end rigs, and the 850 watt model is best suited for high-end to hardcore computer systems. So how is this wattage determined? Well, to understand that, you need to know what rails are. Rails are basically well-regulated transformers which convert domestic current into the voltages that your computer system can use, and there are essentially two different rails, the 3.3/5 volt rail and the 12 volt rail. For the 650 watt power supply, the approximate maximum peak output of the 3.3/5 volt rail is 250 watts and the 12 volt is 480 watts. For the 850 watt power supply, the approximate maximum peak output of the 3.3/5 volt rail is 250 watts and the 12 volt is 600 watts. The 3.3/5 volt rail is responsible for the motherboard, memory, PCI cards, and so on, while the 12 volt rail is responsible for the hard drives, optical drives, fans, CPU video cards, etc. Also, some might be interested to know the peak amps on each rail. For both the 650 watt power supply and the 850 watt power supply, the plus 3.3 volt rail is 30 amps and the plus 5 volt rail is also 30 amps. The 650 watt only has two 20 amp plus 12 volt rails, but the 850 watt power supply has four 25 amp plus 12 volt rails. There are a couple of important things to remember when selecting a power supply. The first is wattage. Determine how much wattage you are going to require by the amount of hardware you will be installing. Generally speaking, a medium to high-end gaming rig would require a 500 to 700 watt power supply. If, however, you are going hardcore and have a multiple video card setup with lots of other hardware, select a power supply that's above 800 watts. Second, it should be at or above 80% efficient at typical load. The efficiency of these power supplies are above 80%. Third, it should meet the latest ATX and other current standards, environmental directives, overvoltage, undervoltage, and other protections. These power supplies meet all current standards. Fourth, I'd recommend choosing a power supply that has APFC. APFC, or active power factor correction, is something that also assists the power supply in being more efficient and therefore stable under load. APFC basically reduces total harmonics, corrects input voltage, and it allows for full input voltage range. Thankfully, these power supplies have APFC. Finally, get a power supply that has enough leads for your setup. Let's have a closer look at these power supplies. I'll be looking at one since they are identical. They are both very compact and will fit in any ATX case on the market, including home theater PC and small form factor cases. The housing is steel and they include a very quiet 135mm fan, which ensures maximum cooling, so the power supply will remain cool in almost any environment. Here's the power cable connection and the power switch. These power supplies have lots of leads, but the main motherboard leads are hardwired into the power supply. But the rest are modular, sleek-looking flex cables. As the name suggests, these cables are super flexible, which allows them to bend around almost anything. They are perfect for hiding cables behind the motherboard tray or neatly tucking them out of sight. This design also increases airflow inside the case by about 30% over standard power supply cables. The modular design makes connecting and disconnecting leads a snap. It also means that you only need to use the leads required for your particular setup. Finally, have a listen to the 135mm fan. These power supplies offer clean, efficient power, come with a very quiet 135mm fan, are super compact, so they'll fit in just about any ATX case on the market, and they have those super duper fantastic flex cables. I really love those things because you can bend them around just about anything inside the case. They're extremely handy to have. Overall, these products are kick-ass. Until next time, take care.